More than a year after the COVID-19 pandemic began, vaccine distribution is becoming more widespread across the U.S. and here in Pennsylvania. But for many small businesses, the struggle remains, as capacity restrictions linger and customers are leery of returning to normal.
For a sports team, capacity restriction means fewer fans in the stands, and testing is a regular practice.
Those are just some of the issues we'll explore in this episode of The Greene Room, a show that focuses on everything Greene County. Good afternoon, I'm Matt Mansfield. WCTV spoke with some local residents who were among the first in the area to be vaccinated. They all told us it was difficult at first to find doses. Even though they qualified under Phase 1, they all experienced only mild side effects, but they were relieved to finally be protected from the virus.
Probably more than 2 months, I would think, huh? Really. We tried right away and couldn't get anything. And we just happened to get lucky. A guy on the Zoom church service said that Washington Hospital was going to be starting Monday morning, that particular Monday morning, to take registration. And
definitely, I feel relieved.
More comfortable in being able to go out and about and pick up dinner or get dinner or go to the grocery store. And with more and more people coming back into school, we're going to be in closer quarters. We're getting to the end of the year. We're looking at trying to do some modified end of the year activities like we normally do. And this just makes it easier to plan. People are a bit more comfortable with that. So it is helping relieve some of the stresses at school as well.
yeah, I feel more confident going out grocery shopping and that stuff.
Waynesburg University students have played an instrumental role in the vaccine location residents through the hospital. They have also been busy this semester with a regular surveillance testing of students, faculty, and staff. But random selection of members of the Waynesburg University campus have been called weekly to take rapid COVID-19 tests. The testing helps identify potential outbreaks before they spread.
Throughout the school year, students who test positive for COVID-19 or need to be isolated have been moved to specially designated locations to quarantine. Public relations students this semester launched a campaign to assist those students in quarantine. It's called "Won't You Help Your Neighbor?" I had a chance to talk with a couple of students who helped create the campaign and the student who benefited from the program. The "Won't You Help Your Neighbor" campaign was created to help students who are in quarantine. Ivy Allen is one of the student members who started the campaign, explains why she wanted to start it.
It's based on the fact that we have quarantine students and they don't always get to connect with people due to being quarantined on campus, if not applicable to be at home.
One thing the campaign does is make sure that quarantine students don't feel lonely.
We wanted to make sure that they don't just get to sit there, they just have some time to connect with us, whether that's like a FaceTime call or we drop off some snacks or whatever they need because they can't get to the outside world.
If students decided to stay on campus to quarantine, the Goodwin House was one of the places that they were able to stay. Students could also stay at Martin Hall, Denny Hall, and the on-campus house behind the GPAC. That's where freshman track sprinter Carisha Jean-Pierre had to quarantine since she lives far away.
I was the only one from Connecticut, so I wasn't able to go home. So I was pretty much like, it was just pretty much a pretty little tiny cell that I wasn't able to leave.
Jean-Pierre was able to have a counseling session while in quarantine.
So we had a counseling session on Tuesday talking about motivation and stuff like that. So I'm in a motivational group with my counselor.
President Douglas Lee shared a message with his thoughts on the "Won't You Help Your Neighbor" campaign.
Hi, Waynesburg University community. I just want to give my gratitude to the Help Your Neighbor campaign. The great work that this group has done, just keeping us aware of the needs of others. And beyond that, I want to thank all of you for the tremendous job that you, the students, have done in keeping Waynesburg well and getting us safely through this entire year of on-campus living.
For WCTV, I'm Adam Morganti.
Businesses in Greene County have also felt the pinch of the pandemic. While franchises remained unscathed, mandated shutdowns greatly affected and are still affecting small businesses. Deemed as non-essential by Governor Tom Wolf, small businesses were forced to close not once, but twice. Now, in the wake of the height of the pandemic, Greene County small businesses are trying to find ways to stay open. For Christy Villette, the local business owner of 5 Kids Candy, this means finding ways to partner with other local businesses in the area.
It doesn't just affect me. I've chosen the products that I carry because they're companies that belong to friends of mine, companies that I care about, companies that I share the same values with. If I shut my door here, those little percentages of sales that I have directly affect them. So me closing my door doesn't just affect me, it affects 15 other small businesses.
As the vaccination begins to roll out, Villette said she is grateful for the support of the community these past few months and hopeful for the future.
Amid the shutdowns and COVID restrictions, it's hard to believe that anyone would choose to open a new business, but that's exactly what one brother and sister team decided to do.
For the past 2 months, something new has been brewing in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania.
After coming back to campus after winter break, Waynesburg University students noticed something new in their small community. Fresh smoothies, coffees, and fruit bowls started appearing on everyone's Instagram feeds as more students visited the new restaurant on West High Street. Fruition Bowls and Brews, a new local business dedicated to providing the healthiest meal options in Waynesburg.
We came up with the idea during quarantine. The first couple weeks of quarantine, I got shut down from my job immediately because I'm a hairdresser. So during that time, it was a scary time, so we were kind of just, filling up with vitamins, trying to be the healthiest versions of ourselves. And we realized there's nothing healthy to eat in Greene County at all.
Fruition offers a deal targeted at Waynesburg University students. Students who visit and show their WU student ID get a $1 off discount at the register at Fruition.
The name came from as you can see on our wall, the definition is to the making of fruit and to bring an idea to fruition. So that's kind of how it works either way, and it works for us.
Jetton says that she hopes that Fruition is an oasis for college students. According to Amanda Longstreth, that goal has been accomplished.
To have something so close to campus that's so healthy for students to go to, it really means a lot because it's fun to go off campus and try new things and to support a local business that caters to what students like and what's fun for us to try.
Fruition Smoothie Bowls and Smoothies offer students a tasty but healthy meal option.
My favorite smoothie is the Blue Magic smoothie. It has banana, mango, spirulina, which is a blue algae, which is really good for your digestive system. I would just have to say that we've been waiting for you guys to come, and we're excited that you're here. And I really hope that you guys try to get a little bit of an oasis from Waynesburg, and it's right down the street. So come on over.
For Channel 14 News, I'm Rebecca Vaughn.
Meanwhile, some businesses hit hardest by COVID restrictions took their plight to court. Rachel Pellegrino sat down with Kathy Hoskins, the owner of local hair salon Classy Cuts. Hoskins talked about how the pandemic affected her business and how she participated in the lawsuit against Governor Tom Wolf's mandated shutdown.
I'm joined here today by Kathy Hoskins, the owner of Classy Cuts in Waynesburg. Now, you're open right now, and you've been open for quite some time, but we're going to start by talking about the very first shutdown in March. So Governor Wolf decided all non-essential businesses had to shut down, which among other businesses included hair salons. So can you just talk about your first initial reaction to this news?
I really, truthfully, and you can ask the girls, I thought, we'll just be closed a week, don't worry about it. We'll be back next week. No big deal. And then, of course, weeks went into months, and it just was the worst thing we've ever been through.
And then how did it directly affect you guys?
Oh, so big. Like, for one thing, the doors had to be locked all the time. No walk-ins. Nobody sitting in the waiting room. Like, it couldn't affect you, I think, any business any more than maybe a restaurant, but nothing was able, and we had to be just, I think we had 2 stylists at that time because you have to be far apart, and which is still the way it is now. We're only at 50% now, but back then it was the worst thing. And the customers thought it was us, that we didn't want to do them because we're like, you cannot, like they'd call and I'd be like, you can't come in here, like you have to sit in your car. you know, and then when one of us is free, then we can come out and get you and bring you in. But they did not understand, which I understand that. Like, I understand that because I didn't really understand it either. But it was just so traumatic. Like, it really affected my business. And then I actually was one of the people that sued Governor Wolf. So I was in that lawsuit. Not that it really would have helped me because I have a state license, so I have to listen to what Governor Wolf says. So, but I still was involved for my, you know, for the restaurants and for the other businesses that could maybe, you know, go against what he, you know, was wishing for them to do. So I did it for them, not for me. But
And then what happened with this lawsuit? Did anything like
we
come
won,
of it?
but I mean, I think it did help the restaurants. It didn't, like I said, it didn't affect me any, but I think it did help the restaurants be able to have like more customers in their, you know, their restaurant and that kind of stuff. But and we're what, almost a year later, and it's not moving very fast. That's for sure. It's not. So.
In addition to the lawsuit, after the first shutdown, Greene County's district attorney said he would not prosecute businesses owners for reopening in defiance of the shutdown because this greatly affects small businesses. Yeah. So what was your response to hearing that?
Okay, so the difference between my small business and maybe say Five Kids Candy or someone that doesn't have a state license, they don't really, they could do that. They could have stayed open, you know. I cannot. Like, I had to listen to whatever Governor Wolf said. We had to practice that because we are under him. And our cosmetology license mandates that we listen to what our governor of our state says. So we had to do what he said.
So how did that affect revenue and your employees as well?
It affected me, like, I'm saying about $65,000 last year. We lost. So it's bad. Yeah. It's really bad, and we need to get stuff open. Like, we need to get stuff back open. It's just the worst I've ever seen. And I feel so bad for all the businesses. I do. It just, you know, and it's a small town. And then now they're shutting the Keystone Pipeline down. Like, it's a domino effect, you know? So I don't know. You just got to keep going every day, you know? But it's not real happy anymore, you know? It's not happy times, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it.
Do you guys have plans to cope with the loss of revenue and moving on in the future? Because have you been losing customers because you can't have as many people come in?
Right. So we just normally will stay open later, like, because, you know, we're only open from 9 to 6. But just to get people in maybe when, you know, no one else is here. Sometimes we can do that, but there's ways to do that. But you just got to pretty much whatever the customers need, you know, because that is what we need, you know. We need to worry about the customers. So it's been rough, and then a lot of the older people don't want to come out anyways. So a lot of them are staying home because the governor's got them scared. Like, don't go out, don't be around people, don't have Christmas with them. Don't celebrate. Don't go to the restaurant homes with your to see your family. It just is so heartbreaking. I don't know when it's going to end, but it's like they don't want you to do anything, you know, and it's heartbreaking. It really is.
And then a number of small businesses actually had to shut down because of the pandemic. So what would you say you guys? What would you guys say helps you guys be able to stay open during this time specifically?
The last time? I mean, the time you didn't?
Well, just stay open in general because, like, through all going through both shutdowns because you had to close for both of them because of the governor. And then also going through all the restrictions because that adds a lot of costs as well.
Oh my gosh, I had to get, of course, millions of hand sanitizers. And I have, in my bathroom, I have a special dryer because you don't want to use the towels and then that spreads. So we got, you know, of course, the hand sanitizer. Then we have, when you walk out of the bathroom, we have the machine that you put your hand under and it squirts the Purell hand sanitizer out. And then you just go in and use the dryer. It dries your hands. So we had to do that. And then the thermometer, that so much is not so bad now, but we had to buy a thermometer to take people's temperature. And then we have the plexiglass up in the front so no one can get real close. But yeah, it was a lot of money. And I'm still not done with that. I still have to change a couple of the stations to make them, that's why we can't use all the stations, because they have to be, 6 feet apart. So that I'm waiting on a grant to be able to do that so I can have more people working. So until that grant goes through, there's not much, we can't really do much about it.
Now, how would you say the customers and community are responding to all these restrictions, and just are they being willing to be there for you guys and just kind of support you guys through all of this?
I think the majority of the people understand, but there are those that don't understand, and they, like I told you before, they're, well, you just don't want us to come in, or you just, that's so not, if anyone ever owned their own business or worked for a small business, we're never going to turn anybody away. We want you to come in, and we want you to be here, and we want to be here for you. So it's been rough. It's been a very rough year and a half, I'm telling you. I'm ready for it to be over. But the sunshine's going to help. So we're almost to spring, so we can look forward to that.
And then, do you have any advice that you could offer any other small businesses struggling right now through the pandemic?
I'll tell you what helped me is I was in banking before this, because I've had my salon for almost 30 years, but just don't get a bunch of bills. Like, I wasn't one to have a credit card, and then, I don't have the money, so I'll go use my credit card. I think the best advice I can give the small businesses is don't resort to using stuff that you don't really have the money, maybe that you can pay on down the road. You don't know what you're going to have down the road. So it's better just, if you don't have it, if you can't pay cash, then don't buy it. That means you don't need it, because you can't keep charging stuff. So I would say that would be that's what's kept me open, because I didn't have any of that. So that's my biggest piece of advice I'd give anybody, would be that. Just stay away from the credit cards.
Business owners in Pennsylvania seek over $135,000 in legal fees from lawsuits against Governor Tom Wolf's COVID-19 shutdowns. According to a report from Triv Live, Wolf has appealed many of the lawsuits sent his way, including restaurants that pleaded not guilty after being cited. Most of these businesses won in local courts as his shutdown actions were deemed unconstitutional. Federal Judge William Stickman ruled on September 14th of last year that Wolf's actions statewide to force non-essential businesses to shut down were unconstitutional.
Restrictions have also impacted campus, from sports to academics. When we come back, we'll take a look at how history may remember our so-called new normal.
Welcome back to WCTV. You're watching The Greene Room here, and I'm Lachlan Loudon.
And I'm Rebecca Vaughn.
Nonprofits have had a rough time fundraising during the pandemic, but some found creative ways to continue serving their communities. WCTV's Adam Morganti has the dish on one local fish.
Hi there. Just looking at the menu of the Jefferson Volunteer Fire Company fish fry that they have every Lenten season. It's that time of year again, fish fry season. If you're looking for a new fish fry to go to, try the Jefferson Volunteer Fire Company fish fry. They are doing a fish fry every Friday during Lent. The hours are 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and it's takeout only. According to the fire chief, Joseph Pitek, the Jefferson Volunteer Fire Company has done a fish fry for at least 20 years.
It's a fundraiser for the fire department, and it really helps us out. And basically, the people, the community, come to expect us to keep doing it.
The Jefferson Volunteer Fire Company uses funds from the fish fry to help pay for equipment throughout the year.
It's very successful. As we all know, equipment is expensive. It helps to buy our gear and other things that we need through the year.
John Tennant, who is the president of the Jefferson Volunteer Fire Company, thinks that his fish fry this year will be extremely successful compared to other years.
A lot of the other places, because of the pandemic, aren't doing them at all. And they've been really good to help us support as far as financial, to help with the proceeds towards our trucks and equipment.
Even though a lot of places decided to not do a fish fry this Lenten season, Tennant still wanted to do a fish fry for his community.
We like to make sure that we support our community and help our community out in any way we can. And this is one of the ways that we can help give back to them. They can support us, and we're giving them a decent meal at a good price.
Lieutenant points out multiple things he's satisfied with the most from doing a fish fry each year.
Honestly, the end result, it's the community support, and also the fact that at the end of those, you can put a nice chunk of change in a bank that makes you feel good about yourself, that you're supporting your own department.
PTEC hopes that people continue to support their fish fry.
People come out and support your local fire departments. In the state of Pennsylvania, we have to make our own money, and it takes a lot of money to keep the place running.
Now that I have my fish, let's give this sandwich a try. For WCTV, I'm Adam Morganti.
During the shutdowns over the last year, construction came to a halt. That put many projects across our community and here on campus behind schedule. Lindsay Stanger looked into the delays for a new campus dining option.
Waynesburg University continues to push forward in the construction of the campus Chick-fil-A.
As fast as we can, we're trying to make sure that the on-site guys are working as fast as we can, and our construction management team has been working with our vendors to try to speed up the process in any and all ways that we can.
The date for its opening has continued to be pushed back. The original date for its grand opening was way back in September. However, with shutdowns, miscommunications, and electrical issues, it has made it very difficult for the university to say when it'll be open to the public. Despite several setbacks, the university is confident that it'll be worth the wait. Reporting in Waynesburg, Lindsay Stinger, WCTV News.
From players on the field to fans in the stands, sports have been impacted by COVID-19. Teams have been forced to find creative ways to compete, and although tournaments may not have the same energy, they're still finding a way to play ball. WCTV's Jack Hillgrove reports.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, high school baseball and spring sports all across the country were shut down a year ago, but a calendar year can make a difference. And just about 365 days later, high school baseball teams are back on the diamond. After almost 400 days, fields and stadiums across western PA are finally filled with this sound. In 2020, baseball teams were just about a week or two into practice, maybe a scrimmage under their belt, and then they were shut down. So the million-dollar question has to be, what was it like not playing at all last season?
Probably more than anything, it was an emotional roller coaster for the kids, I think. We were going to go to Florida, to Disney, and to have everything basically shut down in one swoop. It was a difficult thing for our kids.
The uncertainty was also brutal for players as well, because they only thought it would be.
We only anticipated 2 weeks.
And then
2 weeks more.
Then finally.
And after that, it was doubtful. We knew it was doubtful that we play. Very disheartening for our seniors.
The biggest problem for WPIAL baseball teams this spring is the lack of varsity experience among players.
The guys that didn't get to play last year, get some experience for them and to get the game reps and to become more comfortable with the speed of the game.
But it's not just for York, McGuffey, Trinity, or Connellsville. This is happening across the district, the state, and the country. The district was able to complete its fall and winter sports seasons with minimal conflict pertaining to COVID-19. So you could say that the kids are so excited to return to Wild Things Park in about 5 weeks to compete for a championship, they might slide in head first. I'm Jack Hillgrove, WCTV Sports.
You could think of this pandemic as history in the making. For local historians, archiving the past is key. At the Eberly Library here at Waynesburg University, students and professors dive into documents more than a century old.
Tucked away in the Eberly Library.
Some of the oldest books we have on campus are here.
Hidden in plain sight on the 3rd floor.
And so we've got textiles that are 100 years old.
Is a door that many people wouldn't think twice about. Welcome to the Trans-Appalachian Room. A room full of historic books, documents, and photographs dating back to the beginning of the university's times. These items are able to give us a peek into what life was like for the students back then.
So we've played sports for a very long time, and we've got some photographs of the era. We've got a 1905 basketball team portrait. We've got a poster concerning the basketball girls, who are Pitt girls versus Waynesburg College on November 17th, 1917. So we have girls playing basketball during the middle of the First World War. We've got college catalogs from the era, so we can, in a sense, put together what the students were doing in their extracurricular activities here, but also what courses they were taking in classes.
Some of the items are so old that the staff doesn't even know how they got there.
This is a book that's written in Latin, and I'm not sure how it made its way here from Europe to Greene County, but someone bought it and brought it to us.
But among the history in this room are boxes filled to the brim with more documents. Documents that need sorted. Which is where students like junior criminal justice major Alex Nemec come into play.
I'm a member of the Bonner Scholars, and for the community service project that we were doing in the fall of 2020, we were going through the library storage here at Waynesburg University, and we came across this box of records from the 1930s. It is, some of it is prison records, some of it is court cases, but it's all from the years of roughly 1925 to 1935. One other set of documents we found is from 1929. There was something called the Wickersham Report, and it was from Washington, D.C. It was a federal report to all the different states assessing prohibition and the way that the alcohol enforcement laws had gone in the United States. And the summary from this study was that prohibition wasn't going well, people weren't enforcing it, and it eventually led to the end of prohibition a few years later.
A lot of the paper documents are old and are at high risk of deterioration, so by scanning them and creating a digital version, they're being preserved for future use.
These documents are, the paper and a lot of the stuff is very fragile, especially because it's very old. So these documents might not be around forever, so even if I can have some kind of modern record saying of what they are, I think that's important for the future.
From the library, checking out, I'm Rebecca Vaughn.
Community museums across the country are already thinking about how they'll commemorate the coronavirus for future generations. Masks, vials vaccine, and hand-washing signs are just some of the items that have come to symbolize the pandemic. The Greene County Historical Society Museum has several artifacts from its collection from the last pandemic, which was the Spanish flu of 1918. Hidden in the small town of Waynesburg lies a piece of history that many may not know about. Welcome to the Greene County Historical Society, where artifacts from the past live on in present time, such as old rooms, fabrics, articles of clothing, and stories. Stories about soldier homecomings after World War I, businesses closing, and general life during the early 1900s, and the Spanish flu, the last notable pandemic where deaths were on the rise and business activity was starting to fall.
When you look in newspapers from that time period, you do see an increase in obituaries and things like that. And businesses weren't shut down then like they are now, but you do see decreases in business activity. You don't see as many people out and about and stuff like that. But also at that time, life was very, very different. If you needed something, you really couldn't do without it. We didn't have the luxuries then that we do now. So in all fairness, life very much had to continue because it was survival.
Things such as basic medication and other small necessities were not an available luxury during the 1918 pandemic. If someone needed something, they did not have online shopping and delivery.
They didn't have masks like these. Generally, they would just wear a face scarf, or honestly, like you see a lot of people in Walmart, pull something up over their shirt, if they did anything at all. It's kind of similar to now. Greene County specifically has not been an area that's been hit very hard with COVID. I think it's rural. You don't have large concentrations of people anywhere.
To some people, we are living through a history book.
giving us a glimpse into the life of those that lived through the 1918 pandemic.
It's different because you learn about these kind of things in history classes, and when you actually experience it, you get a better feel for what they experienced. The going to the grocery store, not being able to get certain items, was something that put almost like a shock into you that you would have never been able to fathom before it actually happened to you. So I think it's been kind of an eye-opener for what historically other people have experienced.
Recently, we just discovered our original ledger that they started using in 1861 all the way up through the 1940s. It showed all of the emissions here. And when we found that, one of the first things I did actually was to kind of look, through the 1917, 1918, 1919 timeframes to see if there was an increase in deaths. Surprisingly, there was not. Beginning in 1929, coinciding with the Great Depression, that's when we see a huge increase in deaths. So that was kind of one of the amusing little things that I thought looking through that ledger that surprised me that I didn't expect. We can look back and make criticisms at how things were done during the 1918 epidemic. What will the criticisms be in 100 years? What will they look at and say were the successes that we did? I think that's going to be interesting, and we'll start seeing that sort of mentality and information coming along a lot sooner than 100 years, probably in the next 10 to 15. Now a lot of people are talking about 1918. It'll be interesting to see how people talk about this as kind of a stepping stone for what improvements we can make.
This is Erin Lang and Victoria Zacek, Channel 14 News.
In 1918, the Spanish flu created one of the most severe pandemics in history. 1/3 of the world's population became infected with this virus. The number of deaths was estimated to be at least 50 million worldwide, with about 675,000 occurring in the United States. The Spanish flu killed people directly by causing massive hemorrhages in the lungs. In 1942, a vaccine was created to put an end to the Spanish flu.
As we head into summer and warmer weather, health experts hope the spread of the virus will soon be contained. Vaccinations are said to be effective against the original strain as well as all variants of the virus, so it is our hope that when we return to campus in the fall, we will finally be able to return to life as we knew it. On behalf of WCTV, I'd like to thank everyone on campus for their cooperation as we fight to combat coronavirus. I would also like to thank all the reporters, producers, and photographers who contributed to this special edition of the Greene Room. Thank you, everyone. Have a great summer.
Thank you. Bye.